Welcome to Sci-Tech Swiss, the fastest growing world-class podcast of all times. We're kicking off the new year with a sponsorship drive during the WIFE Week in Davos with an exciting ad campaign with Ringier. Karina, over to you and tell our audience how they can hitch their wagon to our star.
Become a sponsor for the next episode or we produce one for you in our professional studio. Find us on premierswissmedia.com. There we go. Hi, Alina. How are you today?
Hello, Karina. I'm good. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, I'm Karina Schuster, and I'm very excited to be hosting the brand new Sci-Tech Swiss Week podcast. Listen to us and learn something new today. So first of all, I would like to, if you could just, start introducing yourself, just a couple of words for our audience, and then we are going to talk about more.
Thank you very much for having me here and giving me this opportunity. My name is Alina Aeby, which, by the way, Aeby is a Swiss name. I probably knew this already, especially the way it's spelled. Well, although it's not my maiden name, but it's a Swiss name. It just happens. It could be spelled in different ways, but yes, it is a Swiss name. And I live in San Francisco, California. I'm the founder president of Silicon Valley Proptech Association, which is a nonprofit association that connects different stakeholders in the Proptech and real estate industry. From founders and technologists to investors, brokers, VCs, academia, government, and so on and so forth. I have a deep knowledge of real estate. I've been a real estate practitioner in California and San Francisco for a long time. And my background is actually as a globalization economist. When I was younger, I also used to be a journalist and reporting on a transitioning economy from a state-owned economy to a privatized capitalist economy. And that was back in Romania. And I'm happy to be here and to talk about how to make the best use of digital technology in real estate sector.
Thank you so much. That's such a nice description. I really loved the first part. And especially, I'm really proud to interview a lot of women working in the tech sector. And also, I'm really proud, especially when it comes to Romania, because it's our homeland. So, I'm always proud to. What are a couple of interesting stories that you'd like to share with us?
Wow, I think that I've started to use technology early on in real estate practice, and even starting with electronic signatures. I've been using electronic signatures since 2009, which probably the rest of the world has not. But being here in San Francisco and in Silicon Valley, we had DocuSign. And of course, even if as technologically was possible, that doesn't mean that the electronic signatures were immediately adopted and integrated in a process, because real estate is such a vast sector and it's interconnected with other industries, with banking, financing, insurance, and not all the time those were allowed, in a contractual world. But easy by easy, I think that they became the norm, and right now the state of California actually approved from a notary standpoint electronic signatures and recognized them. It's still a little bit more difficult when you have an instrument of a financial instrument, but I think that the rest of the world is following. Of course, we have very different legislations in different countries and even within the European Union. But that's one example. And I just realized when I did not have to meet clients at midnight or at 1 a.m., how easy my life became when I could just be in the comfort of my home and send a document for electronic signatures and came back to me in the morning, then it was good to go. So that's one example, and it's a minor example. But there's so many ways, of using technologies and making things better. And I cannot think of a better use of technology during the pandemic when we were all isolated. And it was the main way of communication for all of us. We could organize conferences, share information. We could virtually stage properties. We could virtually sell properties. And I think ever since things evolved even much more in the digital technology world, 3D printing and 3D tours and so on and so forth. And then the way we actually exchange assets, tokenization, NFTs, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, I mean, it's surprising when it comes to when you're thinking about it, because I actually heard a lot of stories, also people working the real estate business that was probably, one of the, let's say, one of the less challenging, jobs that people had, because you could actually, meet probably also smart contractors, or, you could deal with your clients even, virtually. And even when it comes to interviewing, like we're doing right now, I mean, we could do that really, really fast, easy. And also because we were talking about technology, one of the first questions is probably, what are a couple of emerging trends, in sustainable and eco-friendly real estate development that you think that are really important right now?
I've been attending a lot of Proptech events this fall, which was very interesting because they were in different parts of the world. So I had the chance to go to London to Proptech Connect, and then I went to Hong Kong, and I went to Indonesia, and then to Malaysia, and most recently I came back from Accra, Ghana. And I think that the main concern right now, it's of course it's just to achieve the SDG 17 goals and work towards that, because real estate touches on a lot of them, and it's very important, from the shortage of housing, poverty, and preserving the environment. And I think that probably one of the most important trend right now is the ESG reporting. You see more and more legislation for this, and I've seen a lot of platforms and instruments for ESG reporting being incorporated in, especially in the bigger companies, daily and monthly and annual reporting, and also seeing a lot of governments adopting that as well. I know that EU is leading the way, because you do have legislation that will have to be observed, but there are a lot of other countries who have deadlines for ESG reporting as well. And I think that the reason everybody stresses about ESGs, it's because the way investors will consider businesses from now on, and especially real estate businesses, and everybody owns real estate. Let's just make that clear. Will be very important. Those probably will become main considerations when it comes to investors who are environmentally and social governance minded. So that's one of them. And then, of course, you can actually adapt every single digital technology you can think of in real estate industry, since there are so many verticals, from planning and legislation all the way to managing, and relationship with academia. You can see that everything can be adapted. Of course, AI is the biggest darling of everyone right now. There are a lot of investments in AI. San Francisco is emerging once again as the capital of the world in AI. We have probably a lot of companies here in proportion with other parts of the world. But I think that you see AI companies all over the world right now. It depends in which field. I think the market is huge, but definitely there are some detached big players.
Amazing. And how do you see the evolution of AI in different parts of the world?
I think it really depends how the AI is trained. It depends what you put in a AI program. it's very important to make sure that the way the searches appear in AI, they're inclusive, they're not discriminatory. And actually, when I was in Accra, somebody was also talking about digital divide. Will AI and all the digital technologies create further division between the people who have and people who don't have, or they will contribute to alleviate these differences, and they will create, again, newer middle classes throughout the world, because that it's very important. And especially being in Africa right now, Africa is emerging right now. You see a lot of interest in digital technology. You see a rising middle class, and this is actually the category I'm working with usually. I'm working with other real estate and Proptech professionals. And I think what I find interesting right now is that because we all leapfrogged into the digital technology era, and that somehow supplements, or it could be it's not a replacement, but definitely we're talking about countries and places in the world, they don't have a proper basic infrastructure, traditional infrastructure, right? We're talking about roads, telecommunication, and so on and so forth, and maybe basic sanitation systems. But you see, everybody has access to computers and programming, and there is talent everywhere, and education everywhere. And I think that right now is not unusual to see products and platforms in digital technologies that emerge in emerging countries, for lack of the better word. And they will scale up in countries which are much more developed economically, So I like to see that, For example, let me give you an example from Romania, our country. There is this UiPath Design, which is really big in AI, and they went directly to Wall Street, and right now they are a global phenomenon in AI. And I see people working for UiPath from all over the world. So why not? The next biggest unicorn and company coming to Wall Street, it's from Ghana or from Nigeria, or from Southeast Asia. It's very possible, So you see things going around and the other way around a lot, and that is actually a good thing. On the other hand, of course, since there is a lack of basic infrastructure in some parts of the world, you're wondering if adding this new technologies will not create a deeper divide. And that's the question, We want to solve it we want to solve that with digital technologies. And that's the most important, how we use, train, and we make sure that a lot of people are trained, educated, and have access to them.
That's an amazing project, of course. And what are a couple of improvements that you guys are working on? If you can share more information about that.
My biggest, I have few passions, of course. And one of them is because I'm in this field and in real estate, and I think it's very important. You can actually come up with new technologies all the time and not think about the pain points that we have. I'm very passionate about empowering people and creating generational wealth through real estate. It's very important to have your own home. It should be a basic right that everybody has a home, but also it will be great to use that house as an asset as well. And leave it to the next generation, create generational wealth. So I've seen a few programs, and I've recently been to South Africa as well. And I was fortunate to be part of this program that we co-granted that empowers real estate professionals to open their own. Black real estate professionals in South Africa, just because, as we know, because of the apartheid regime, the concentration of real estate brokers, professionals, developers is still white. So we co-granted this school, this leadership school, which is amazing, would empower people to open their own business. So this is one program. And I had the chance to visit this program where there is this company that builds income residences in townships on the land that let's say single mothers own, and they create a stream on income, and they teach them how to become landlords and have a stream of revenue from income properties. And they hold these properties for 10 years. They give them 15% and they keep 85% to recuperate the costs. And after 10 years, they deed them completely the properties. It's a great program. This is an example, of helping people to become middle class and have a revenue, just because the unemployment rate is quite high as well in South Africa. Another one will be to give people title for properties that they occupy for years or generation and they do not have a title for it. And for that, you can employ blockchain, for example. So this is solving a problem. It's so important, just because many times you can live for generations uninterrupted on the same piece of land or occupy the same home, but you cannot use it as a collateral, you cannot use it as a financial instrument, you cannot exchange it, you can sell it. So those are things that technology can solve. And I think that there are many more. Others will be access to financing and helping people to obtain financing instruments to buy homes. And I can continue.
And another thing that I wanted to talk about is probably, on the regulatory side, where do you see a couple of challenges also from an investor point of view?
I think from investors' point of view, in talking about real estate investors, right? And what would they invest in? Investing in property, investing in digital technologies. For real estate investors, I think there is a lot of concentration in adopting instruments that they make asset management more efficient. I think that it's very important. And talking about managing assets from financial standpoint, I think that there are a lot of platforms out there and a lot of efforts, because traditionally the commercial real estate was the first to follow. It makes sense. It has to do with a lot of financial indicators, and then the residential one will follow. But first is the commercial one, and it's all about the efficiency, and it's all about the way you calculate your investments is very important. And this will include big institutional investors, family offices, and I think that they are very preoccupied with that. And then, of course, all the investors, as I mentioned, are very interested in this ESG. I think the way investment is done right now, or will be done, will take this into consideration more and more. The ESGs will be very important. And I think we still have a problem with the SNGs. They are not as easy to report, but a lot of progress has been made on the E part, because it's easier to quantify the environmental part and how much you save, at least if you refer to saving energy, saving water, making a building, environmentally friendly. I think that it's easier to quantify, but also looking at how other companies who are to be acquired treat the employees and how they govern. That's also very important. Social governance responsibility, it's going to be considered, taking into account more and more. And I think there are more and more green financing funds, and those are products that they will be offered to companies and to products that they will respect those criteria. And I think that that's a trend. So, of course, every investor is looking for efficiency, the highest return possible, but also the ones who respect themselves and they are somebody in this industry, they will have to lead the way, and they will have to look at ESGs, and they will have to invest responsibly and change things. So that's what I think is the trend. But of course, we'll always be looking at ways to doing well by doing good, right? We still want to make money, to have efficiency, but in the same time to be an example in social governance.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I remember some of the use cases presented at the Proptech Connect event, the one that I also attended in London. And I'm just curious, were there any, startups, interesting startups that, you really consider like interesting, that came up with interesting, solutions, when it comes to sustainability? That's also a, keyword for us.
There are many. I don't know if I would name one in particular because I've been all over the world. I've seen that great minds think alike. So it's a crowded, actually, it's quite a crowded space, I would say. I've seen, as I mentioned, a lot of. I went, for example, in Hong Kong, and I saw a friend of mine who launched a program that's called Netawatt. I've met great Romanian companies, actually, and you probably met them as well in Proptech Connect. So we had the chance to meet our friends from Bright Spaces, and there is another company that's called Sigtree, and they both happen to be in the 3D and respectively in asset management efficiency space as well, and ESG. They're great companies. I also had the chance. That's why I don't want to mention a lot of companies, but a great privilege and exercise for me and learning a lot was that I was recommended and included as a member of the jury and on behalf of Proptech Romania, actually, for the final awards and competition, European Proptech competition that was organized and supported by the European Commission. And I had the chance and privilege to review about 40 decks and 40 companies and presentations. Then they're all focused on in different either ESG reporting or efficiency or real estate assets exchange. They all employed different technologies. From digital twin to IoT to blockchain. So it was very interesting to look at them. And one of the Romanian companies, by the way, was a finalist, was in a last 10, but they were not the awarded startup. So yes, it was a very interesting exercise. It was for startups and scale-ups. I had the chance to see all these wonderful ideas. Some of them, of course, are easier to apply than others. And now it's the matter of raising funds, which has not been that easy for the PropTech sector this year.
Yeah, totally understandable. First of all, congrats. That's a huge title. And yeah, I'm also proud, to see all these examples, and I could also name a few. I was really impressed, especially when it comes to, AI and, a lot of, sustainability. But also a last question that I'm thinking about, that I'm actually asking everyone. It's, I don't know, I hope it's not going to be perceived as a tricky question, but I really like these kind of tricky questions sometimes. Like, should technology be perceived as our friend or our enemy? That's also what I was asking to a lot of startups there.
Do we have a choice? That's my question. Do we have a choice? Because I don't think we have a choice to be honest.
That's the first time someone replies with a question I like.
I think it's adapt or die, pretty much. This is what I think it is. So you want it or not,
startups.
you have to adapt. It's not easy and hasn't been easy for us. And the real estate sector traditionally has always been considered a hard to adapt and hard to reform sector. It's considered a little bit antiquated or not following the trends really, really fast. And I think that a lot of technologists are challenging the sector and trying really hard to change it. But it's not happening overnight. And it's not happening overnight because, as I mentioned, it's so interconnected. It's not necessarily because the real estate industry doesn't want to adopt it, they do. But there are also so many regulations. If you start from, let's just consider the fact that you buy a property, you finance the property, you have to insure the property, you need to manage the property. So the integration is very difficult. There are so many softwares and products that they are completely independent and they are disparate. You cannot really, enter in one system and find everything there. So the integration and interoperability are problems still to this day. And then, of course, it's a matter of legislation, and it's legislation for each country or for European Union, and even here in the United States, every state has its own licensing laws, and it's very different, in every state because it's a federal, government. And not to mention in Asia or other countries in the world, it's very difficult. So it's difficult to transfer real estate the way it is because it's not a liquid asset. It's a hard asset. So it's very difficult to do international or across the border transfer unless you employ one of those technologies, NFTs or blockchain. And that is very difficult to do it with the government. If you want to have an insured property, you will need to include, as I mentioned, insurance companies and title recordation and all those. So those are not integrated yet. That's why it's very hard to talk about adoption in everything. But you definitely can adopt technology and will have to do it in a way we design space, we inhabit space, we use space. I think those are challenges and people will have to adapt. And this adoption of technology starts with education as well. I have to say that I would like to see more dialogue between the real estate practitioners, investors, government, and technologists. Because sometimes the technologists could be ahead of themselves and they think it's very easy. And it is easy and it makes sense if the technology it's put to good use and it solves a problem. If it doesn't, then you don't need it.
Yeah, totally right. So they probably a red flag. It's for a company, being able to adopt, these smart technologies, or not. And I don't think they have a choice, right? So
no, I think we cannot go back. One thing we both are sure about it is that we cannot go back. Way we used to live, and we cannot go back even pre-pandemic, But right now we are in a completely era of building use, and I think that we can go back. So we'll see. What will be curious and interesting will be how many of these technologies will be here to stay and will be widely adapted and adopted, and how many of them will dwindle.
Yeah. They also need to know how to market their product properly, so.
Exactly. You're absolutely right about that. And I would say we all should have this conversation and be at the table, because the thing is, when you create a new product and you use it, I think you don't necessarily need to be a technologist or to have, to be an engineer. And I think that everybody should be around the table and think about the use of the product, because there are brilliant minds out there and they're creating all sorts of wonderful products. But I think everybody should see the benefits of the product and contribute to the dialogue when a product is developed, which of course in many cases some products are developed for certain clients. They would be a group of investors or big companies who will develop something specifically to manage their assets and their portfolio. But if you are putting out there a product that you will hope to gain market share somewhere, I think it's very important to look at the needs of the market and also include the users and to take them into consideration. So that it's very important.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I like that idea. And that's also why we are just running this podcast, to inspire more people, when it comes to technology, and to really, I wouldn't say necessarily train them, but to have this kind of safe space where people could actually talk about technology and see, hey, that's disruptive technology. That's not something that you should be scared of, but you should know how to make technology your friend rather than your enemy. So, in this case, I'm really glad that we had this conversation, and I would like to thank you so much for taking your time. We totally appreciate that. And I definitely think that we need also a second part of the interview, because there were so many questions that I still wanted to ask. But yeah, it was really a pleasure having you here.
I would love to. I really enjoy talking with you. Again, I'm very proud of you. And I'm partial, of course, but I am, it just happens, look, I'm a Romanian in San Francisco. You are a Romanian in I thank you very much, and thank you for asking these questions and for bringing in people from different area of real estate and technology together. I think that it's a great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you.